This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. The presence of a quorum has been established and the meeting has been duly called. The notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. As always, after we come out from executive session, we will say the prayer and the pledge, and Dr. Nation has that tonight.
Okay. Pray with me, please. First, dear Lord, I want to thank you for this beautiful East Texas day that you've given us. We enjoyed being outside in the beautiful, wonderful weather. But loving Heavenly Father, thank you for your protection and your guidance. We thank you for allowing us to live in a country in which we're free to speak, to pray, to meet, and to associate with whomever we please without fear of reprisal. I take this opportunity to ask for your protection for those who remain in Ukraine, as well as for those who have left or are leaving. Witnessing events half a world away makes us keenly aware of the contrast that our lives demonstrate. Lord, you've given us the opportunity and responsibility to affect the lives of children and families in many ways, and we ask you for the wisdom and judgment to recognize your guidance. All things are in your hands, and we desire to act within your will. We thank you for your blessings and ask that you continue to guide us to seek your will, protect us from outside influences that wish to do harm, keep us focused on facilitating successful student outcomes academically, as well as leading them in becoming contributing members of our society. Watch over our teachers who nurture the students in their charge, the administrators who continue to aid them in doing so. Help each and every Tyler Independent School District employee and stakeholder to keep the welfare of students in the forefront. Give all members of the community the knowledge and desire to support our students and recognize that this board desires only the best for them. We turn this meeting over to you and ask your continued blessings and guidance on the actions that we determine to take. I love you, Lord, and I ask these things in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nation. We do have a little action coming out of executive session tonight. Dr. Crawford.
Yes, sir, Board. In front of you, you have an action item for consideration of a new Deputy Superintendent for Administration. I don't know how much the public knows this, but our staff knows this, but Dr. Christy Hansen has announced her retirement. After X amount of years in education, the last 10 here in Tyler ISD, we've been very pleased with her for that. Everyone else knows that Mr. Bitter, former Assistant Superintendent for Administration, has gone on to Carthage ISD as a school superintendent. Tonight we have duly posted the position and given it enough time to actually meet state law and vetted a few candidates here and there, but we bring to you tonight Dr. Lance Gropel to be the new Deputy Superintendent of Administration, which will have curriculum instruction and school improvement in his side of the org chart. Dr. Gropel comes from Grapevine Colleyville ISD, where he currently sits as Executive Director of Instruction.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Crawford. Anybody on the board have any comments or questions or a motion for this particular item?
You say a motion or emotion?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
It could be an emotional motion.
Okay, there you go. We've had those.
We have had those.
We've had those.
I just want to come in regards to Dr. Hansen in regards to her retirement. Over the past couple of years, I had an opportunity to work with her very closely in regards to some of the things we've been doing. I'm very appreciative of the knowledge and the expertise she has in her field. It's going to be a loss with her leaving, but we understand priorities. So we appreciate you there.
Without ready for the motion?
Okay. You want
I move emotionally that we approve the hiring of Dr. Lance Gropel as Deputy Superintendent of Administration.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Welcome to Tyler ISD, Dr. Grobel.
Thank you, President Washman, Dr. Crawford, and the rest of the trustees. My family and I are incredibly excited to join the Tyler ISD community. Ashley, my wife, is here with me. Our two boys stayed back. Our oldest didn't want to miss school this afternoon, which pretty much summarizes our oldest son. But we're really excited to be a member of this community and the values that we see that align with who we are as a family and what we want for our children. So thank you for this opportunity. Look forward to being here soon with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Dr. Gropel. You made sure and thanked your wife and introduced her. That's really good. We've had problems with that before from that podium. You're off to a good start.
Okay, well, now we're moving on to special recognitions.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Crawford. We are excited to have this portion of the recognitions for tonight. We would like to begin by announcing our March District Students of the Month. And we have our Elementary Student of the Month, who is Julian Delgado, a 5th grade student at Birdwell Dual Language Immersion School. The Secondary Student of the Month is Zakayan Thomas, a 6th grade student at Hubbard Middle School. At this time, please join us in watching a brief video about these two outstanding students. Tyler ISD would like to recognize the efforts of our 2 District Students of the Month. These students are nominated by their teachers and school principals. Students are recognized for their excellence in many areas, including academics, leadership, campus and community involvement. These outstanding qualities lead to successful student outcomes, both in and outside of the classroom. We would like to introduce our first Student of the Month, a 5th grader at Birdwell Dual Language Immersion School.
My name is Julian Delgado, and I'm the Student of the Month for March.
Julian is a focused student who always engages in classroom discussion. Julian exhibits leadership skills, helping his classmates time and again in subjects like math.
What I have really loved is just seeing how he's grown this year as he's helping his classmates. When he gets it fast, he ends up not just doing his own thing, he goes and he helps, and he's really supporting them in their learning as well, which is just helping him grow even more.
Our Secondary Student of the Month is a 6th grade student from Hubbard Middle School.
I'm Guy, and I'm Student of the Month.
Zakayan Thomas, who goes by Kai, is the perfect example of positivity. He participates in his life skills class and makes a friend with just about everyone in Husky Nation. His teacher, Miss Lawson, explains just how special this young man is.
Kai is the type of student that you want in your class. He's just so excited about everything. He's that kid that just makes you smile, makes you want to come to work every day.
One of Kai's favorite things to do in his life skills class is cook. Kai's principal, Mr. Sherman, says that Kai is a pretty special student.
We wanted to come surprise you because you're going to be named the entire Tyler ISD District Student of the Month for all secondary campuses. That is a lot of kiddos. Having someone that can make every single person on this campus smile at all times is just an amazing thing, and Kai is a deserving young man for this honor, and it couldn't be a better representative of Tyler ISD, and we're super proud of him.
In Tyler ISD, we are committed to graduating all students with the knowledge, skills, and habits necessary for success in college, careers, and life. Congratulations to these students for their hard work. Sponsored by Texas Bank and Trust. And now if the board would like to come to the front, we're going to invite our 2 Students of the Month to come on up. And at this time, we would like to welcome Julian to come up to the front to receive his award as our Elementary Student of the Month. Good. Congratulations. And now we would like to welcome Kai up to the front to receive his Secondary Student of the Month award. Mom, you can come on up. Congratulations. At this time, we would also like to recognize the following high school students for advancing to state in the Visual Arts Scholastic event. This event is the visual art equivalent of the University Interscholastic League. Tonight, we have a student from Tyler High School, Aaliyah Iglesias. Please come on to the front. And we have a student from Tyler Legacy High School, Regina Mendez. Congratulations to both of those students. At this time, we would like to also celebrate our District Teacher of the Month, Vincent Bowie, an algebra geometry teacher at Bolter Middle School. Mr. Bowie always has a positive attitude with students, parents, and teachers. And as the lead mentor for the campus, you will see him in the classrooms of first-year teachers, assisting them with instruction and providing guidance and classroom management. All the students know him from his high-fiving and telling them, "You're my favorite student." When a student asked how he could have so many favorite students, he said, quote, "You're all my favorites because you are here and because you make a difference." Congratulations, Mr. Bowie. And let's give him another round of applause. Congratulations. And this concludes our recognitions for this evening.
All right. Congratulations to all those who were recognized. That is such a special honor. Okay, we do have public participation next, and I don't believe we have any speakers, unfortunately, so we'll just go ahead and move along to the approval of minutes. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on the approval of minutes for items A, B, and C.
I move we approve the minutes of February 8th, February 10th, and February 21st.
Thank you, Mr. Berthel. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We do have next a Renaissance and CLI Engage update.
As part of the continuous improvement portion of our board meetings. We do have Ms. Cassandra Chapa and Dr. Julie Davis, who will be presenting tonight in regard to our CLI and our Renaissance. We're finally back in the groove of our continuous improvement as far as assessments go. It's good to be on the back end of the pandemic, so we can get on with the work of successful student outcomes. So we'll turn it over to Ms. Chapa and Dr. Davis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Board President Washman, Superintendent Crawford, and trustees, thank you for giving us this opportunity this evening to come before you and present Goal 1 and Goal 2 of Renaissance and CLI engagement update. In looking at STAR Ren, it's administered to our students in K through 8th grade. It assesses math and reading, content knowledge. It's administered 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end. It's individualized on a computer. It helps us with STAR projected proficiency, as well as House Bill 3 goals. In addition, it also helps us look at being able to progress monitor and to develop plans for our students to accomplish end-of-year goals. So as you're aware, there is an increasing performance that moves from not met to approaches to meets to masters, indicating either our students are unlikely to succeed, likely to succeed with targeted academic interventions, or they may need short-term goals or little to no intervention at all. When comparing reading beginning of year to middle of year, you'll see that in most or majority of areas in K through 5 reading that our students did meet the growth that we were looking for. You'll notice in 6 through 8 that while we were not quite where we wanted to be middle of year, again, I'll stress that this data helps us develop those plans. As well, I wanted to share with you that we did ask for Renaissance to do some data comparisons with other districts that look very similar to Tyler. And in doing so, there were 6 anonymous districts that they gave us data back on. When looking at that, our 7th and 8th graders in reading were number 1 when compared again. And in 6th grade, we were number 2 in comparison to those districts. So we know that we're making growth, and we know that we have room to continue to grow. And looking at early literacy, which is going back to Board Goal 1, with the early literacy, these are the end of the year targets that you'll see that are listed by district through our sub-pops. You can see that overall in KN1 that we're already exceeding end of year goals. Note that these students also were our students that had greater access to pre-K. It's when we moved to our full day pre-K and also offered additional pre-K courses or classes. And then in 2nd grade, while we're not hitting targets, we'll use the data to develop plans. This was also the group that when the COVID hit and we went home, and then some students started the next year. So we're aware our campuses are making plans and still striving to hit the end of the year targets. In math, you'll know that from beginning of year to end of year or middle of year, that we are hitting our K through 5 and 8th grade, that those students showed growth. And looking at that study that I shared with you in comparison to those 6 other anonymous districts, for both 6 or all 3, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, we were first in comparison to those districts that look most like Tyler ISD.
Do you know how many of those were? How many districts are that they?
6.
6 of them.
Yes, sir. This is goal 2, looking at early numeracy. When looking at that, you'll see that our first grade are hitting most of their targets. Again, these are compared to end of year targets, and that kinder is hitting about a little more than half of those targets. 2nd grade, again, I've kind of already explained where that group is. For all groups, K through 3 with our board goals, as well as reaching our STAR goals, we are using the data to develop plans to provide intervention to students. I'm going to pass this to Ms. Chapa and let her discuss CLI with you.
right, good evening. So this is coming back from our Wave 2, also middle of the year. And so CLI, standing for Children's Learning Institute, and we refer to this assessment as CIRCLE. So this is administered to all of our pre-K and Head Start in English and in Spanish for our bilingual sections. It assesses math and literacy skills along with social and emotional measures 3 times per year. It is administered one-on-one with a teacher, and there are a couple of portions of this assessment in which the teacher uses a rubric like subjective from their observational data. So as we compare beginning of year, or also referred to as Wave 1, to middle of year, overall we're seeing some great gains in regards to our literacy strategy. We did see a slight decline when it comes to our social, emotional, and early writing. And as denoted, these are those that are based on the subjective rubric from teacher observation. It's nothing that is alarming in compared to our historical data. This has been a typical middle of the year trend with our data, and it has not decreased any different than in the past. And again, this is just a snapshot of what we see on that day in the middle of the year when they have taken that assessment. Here we are comparing, again, the students who have, or the percentage of students who have hit benchmark at beginning of year compared to middle of year based on the different types of programs we offer. So you'll see pre-K tuition, pre-K non-tuition, and Head Start. We have seen a greater amount of students who have hit their middle of year benchmark through our Head Start selections. Also, again, the decreases that we did denote are not alarming compared to what we've seen in the past. Also, we have one more comparison, and this one is through demographic. So again, acknowledging that our Hispanic population demographic also includes the Spanish, those that tested in Spanish, as well as English. And again, we do see some declines, especially in our social and emotional pieces and our early writing pieces. But these are one great information for us to address, considering we've been implementing a new curriculum with our pre-K and Head Start students, and they've been engaging in conscious discipline, professional development throughout the year. So this is just really great to see how we're addressing those things and where we can tweak to ensure that we're hitting benchmark targets by the end of the year. At this time, that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Does anybody on the board have any comments or questions? Or Dr. Crawford, do you have anything to say off the top of your head?
Yeah, while y'all are thinking about the questions you want to ask, let's go back to the very front data set, the table. Okay, that one right there. You know, we've been especially with reading, really concerned about the back portion of the year in 2020 when we quit coming to school, and then last year when a lot of parents elected to not send their kids, especially the early age kids, the pre-Ks and the Ks, and even some first graders to school last year. I think this is encouraging. Feel if we can debate that from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year, is being back in school full time. Maybe even some of those kiddos not even going to school last year. We're seeing some increases here, and I think it's pretty significant as we go past the pandemic. Compared to where we were. The other thing I'll say is go fast forward to the to math for the middle school years. There you go. Y'all remember that 8th grade cohort from last year? That was one that really did struggle for us as 7th graders, Dr. Hanson, correct? Yeah, so seeing some of in the beginning of the year didn't really just knock our socks off, but we are seeing some growth in regard to the 8th grade math from that 7th grade cohort last year, which was really our only, I think that was the only cohort group of kids and the only content area where we did not outperform the state. Now, everybody had lost, we just didn't lose as much. Isn't that how we remember that? I think so. Yeah. Seventh grade was the one where we were behind, but seventh grade was not good for quite a bit all over the state, I think. So very encouraging to see that.
Great. Anybody on the board have any comments or questions?
I think all this data is super encouraging. I mean, I really like it. I really like seeing it. It seems like we're finally, seeing a lot of, fruits of the hard work that we put in. Can you just talk briefly about Head Start and how we've aligned that curriculum with our pre-K stuff? There's some really good numbers on Head Start.
3 years ago, when we had the big debate about what Head Start was requiring us to do versus the non-Head Start pre-K, either the tuition pre-K or the qualifying pre-Kers. The big debate was that all kids deserve the good stuff, and we thought that 1/3 of that mix right there, either between the tuition pre-K, the qualifying pre-K, and the Head Start kids, one portion wasn't getting the good stuff. Now that Head Start curriculum is aligned, all of our early ed curriculum is aligned, we think that that's starting to build some capacity into that early education knowledge that our kids need so well to learn and to go through the system. So good data here so far. We'll see if it translates into STAR here in a few weeks.
Dr. Crawford, if I may, I think that's also why we're seeing that our first and kinder groups are already hitting those end-of-year targets, what you just spoke of.
Yeah, no doubt, if they were with us.
Yes.
The ones that weren't with us are the ones we're super concerned about, that might have taken a year off or delayed a year in actually starting school. But the ones that have been with us, I think, are starting to rise.
Also, to speak to this, it is the first year of implementation with this particular curriculum. So I think the data is able to demonstrate that is definitely, our instruction is hitting students and ensuring that they're meeting that next benchmark. Another step that we can learn from this data is how to utilize it to enrich those that are already coming to us at a high level. In regards to the cut points on Circle, so we can learn not just how to build those foundational skills, but to enrich it for those who are coming to us with a background of some of those early literacy skills.
Tell the board about the social emotional piece of that. You said subjective. You think it's a stamina deal? Is it a resiliency deal? Is it that everybody's tired?
Yes,
we have
so-
hey, it's subjective, so we can be subjective, right? But
Right,
why
so
we think
the
that?
social and emotional rubric is based off a rarely, sometimes consistently piece. It also has what you could call sub-skills. So it has a broad name of social and emotional learning, but then students our teachers are asked to describe students regarding different sub-skills, such as coping, difficult decision-making and/or task-oriented behaviors. And so as you compare beginning of year where you might have kids who are really excited, engaged, they're learning the classroom, the teacher is learning the students, they're gonna have different opportunities in which they're choosing sometimes versus rarely, and that may be the difference of a point. And so when comparing it to middle of year, where a teacher has had a longer period of time with a student in regarding those behaviors, it could, again, be the difference of what we define as rarely, sometimes, or consistently. And consistently generally has a descriptor of, by themselves or with little assistance in regard to those behaviors.
So you may ask what resources we have for that. Obviously Leader in Me, state has required everyone to adopt a district-wide curriculum for character education, and we utilize Leader in Me across the school system now with varying levels of fidelity in grade levels and at certain campuses, because the lighthouse school that we have here, Jack Elementary, everybody thinks, well, it's just Jack, it's their kids. Well, remember, Jack is now 50% ECODIS and has a very diverse clientele now, so it's working there. The other thing is part of our ESSER funding that y'all have actually approved, we've got additional emotional supports with personnel placed in there. There's additional counseling staff that has been hired that works for Dr. Dykeman's office back there. Ms. Dykeman, I gave you a doctorate degree, that's okay, right? So certainly some of those additional supports that we're going to have with us not only this year but the next 2 years after that could be deployed even stronger to deal with some of these social emotional issues.
Yeah, and also the Head Start and pre-K teachers have been engaging in professional development regarding conscious discipline on a monthly basis. And so all of this data is helpful in them making decisions on what teachers' needs going into the next school year.
And let's just make sure, let's clarify from the dais, social emotional learning, it is not some code for something else that like people are trying to hijack, that we've been working on that for a long time here. And so we're talking about the behavior of students, resiliency, self-accountability for learning, which every child can benefit from that, even A.J. Crawford. So,
And in this particular presentation, 4-year-olds.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Correct.
So we recognize that.
That's right.
So, I do have a question. How long have we been with Renaissance now? We switched over to it, how many years? A couple years ago?
2 years.
It's 2 years ago. Okay, great time to switch when we can star and go home. So my question was going to be, how effective do we think it is in actually projecting star? Verdict's probably still out because, we hadn't had much of that going on.
The product says predictable.
Right, yeah.
But we're always skeptical about it and y'all are skeptical about it because y'all been sitting up here and going our governance and continuous improvement now. We know that. We're like, some years we're surprised one way or the other, but Renaissance does seem to feel like they're very predictable. The reason we like Renaissance is it does gives this continuous assessment, but it also has some support products that are rolled into this through curriculum and through learning resources, whereas NWEA MAP did not at that time. Whether or not they have it now or not, we don't know. But we can actually blend in some of those supplemental learning resources and assessments throughout the year, not just a one, what's that, Dr. Hanson? The shorter test. Okay, there you go. Okay. Y'all don't have a microphone on that table anymore, or what? Okay.
Question, comment. In regards to the report, I'm very impressed. I'm glad to see that we are exceeding our goals mid-year. I'm just looking forward to the end of the year to see how much we exceed our goals, because I thought our goals were relatively low from my perspective. I did have a question about the variable, the subjective part of the CLI. Now, in regards to, you said the teachers do the subjective part, do we utilize the same teacher to test the same student from the beginning, middle, and end of the year, or do we change?
No, it's the same. It's the teachers, like the teacher of the student.
Teacher record.
Particular classroom
Yes,
teacher does that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I was just concerned about the variable in regards to the possibility if it was a different
when I say-
teacher seeing things differently than the original.
And it's the experience of the day for that student.
Yeah.
And controlling or in between. So there's just a longer amount of time where more actions can happen in regards to a student's daily behavior.
So we're using the systems that we have set up. Now, do we try to concentrate in those areas for those certain students that's having problems, or is there any attention drawn to that aspect of it?
Yes, so the data is used for the teachers to conduct parent conferences and have conversations with their specialist in order to learn new strategies to support this and their growth.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, it's encouraging data. I'm encouraged by like Dr. Crawford said, the K and 1, and as we're really focusing on getting kids rocking and rolling by 3rd grade, that looks encouraging. So only time will tell, but hopefully you guys can keep doing what you're doing and carry that momentum forward. So thank you. We appreciate it. Okay. On our business, legal, finance, and consent agenda, we are going to pull item B, gifts and donations. And Dr. Crawford, did you want to pull another one of these just to?
Yeah, just since we've got him here tonight, we've got Mr. Loper and Mr. Bedingfield here, let's just go ahead and pull all F through J and have
Okay.
just a little nice brief conversation about preventative maintenance and ESSER.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on items A, C, D, and E.
I move that we approve items A, C, D, and E.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Okay, we'll go ahead and talk about item B, which is our gifts and donations.
On page 21 of your agenda. Thank you, Mr. MacArthur, for being here tonight. Item, page 21 of your agenda actually has our gifts and donations. As always, we're very proud of the philanthropic community that we have that supports our students, and we have three great partners here with Tyler ISD to support our campuses. Rice Elementary PTA for $6,950. The Tyler ISD Foundation going to Griffin Elementary School for $10,000. And Cooperative Teachers Credit Union, who actually has a meeting tonight themselves and couldn't be here to present y'all with a big check and take a big picture like they normally do. For communications for various Tyler ISD events like Teacher of the Year, or excuse me, Educator of the Year banquet, convocation, et cetera, for $34,500. What a partner they are. Love seeing them show up because they're so philanthropic with their dollars. So those are the three gifts and donations we have for the board tonight.
Awesome. That is over $50,000 going into the district. That is incredible. Do I have a motion on that item?
Motion to approve gifts and donations.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you for all of those people and groups that donated. That's incredible. Okay, items F through J. We have some interactive flat panels and re-roofing of Birdwell and some paving improvements and some window replacements.
As y'all know, we have Director of Facilities, Mr. Tim Loper, Brady Bedingfield, which is a project manager who's worked on the Tyler High project. He's now working on the proposed Hubbard and Early College High School projects that are set for election on May 7th. Just wanted to have them just have just a quick briefing of everything that's in here. Joseph Jacks is behind us as well. Maybe he can talk about the interactive flat panels that we're going to provide, where the funding comes from to do all of this work.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Crawford and Board of Trustees. And I was going to mention, Joseph has been a big part of this, especially on the interactive flat panels. In that first board agenda item, it basically explains that we're going to purchase them as a district. So we purchased the interactive flat panels, and the ESSER funds, which is Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief, that's what the acronym stands for, is going to pay for that, and these funds have already been approved at that. We've also, back in October, y'all gave us permission to hire engineers because since we're replacing all of the flat panels district-wide, we'll need Ethernet behind them as opposed to you didn't with smart boards and projectors that we're replacing, and we'll also need some electrical. So under statute, anything over $8,000, we have to hire an engineer. So y'all have already done that, and we're well on our way, and that's what is presenting here.
I guess the conversation with the board is, and the public is, to make sure to know that across the school system and how many classrooms that we have, you have that at the top of your head.
It's over 1,100.
1,100. So how many, Joseph? Joseph knows, 1,118 classrooms across the school system.
Well, I was right, Joseph.
We'll actually replace the touch screens, the smart boards, the projectors that are in there. We're leaving the projectors up. We're taking them down. And so we'll have the pretty antiquated technology going back to those touch screen, what's essentially a television. And it's incredible that 50 years later, every classroom, it's a television that has stayed in there as far as the durability of the technology and the usefulness of it, except now they're pretty cool. You can cast up to them and you can touch them.
They're just like your smartphone.
Just like your phone.
Giant smartphone.
So in saying that, we realize these ESSER funds are from the COVID stimulus package that's out there. And hopefully we can extend our preventative maintenance and even our budget, on the budget side through this. We were being very strategic about that to get this new technology. Now, where are examples of this technology, Mr. Loper?
Well, both high schools, both our comprehensive high schools have all interactive flat panels in every classroom, in the libraries, in life skill, everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's a few that have been purchased throughout the district, scattered about, and we accounted for those during our assessment also.
And then these are proposed for the Hubbard and Early College High School as well, correct?
Yes, sir, they are. We're even purchasing them. Despite what happens in the future, we'll install them. Let's just say if the bond issue isn't successful, we'll have them and install them in the Hubbard as it is now.
Okay.
So to give you an idea of how that's offset and really kind of how this helps tie into preventive maintenance, you've already approved the replacement of the HVAC units that have lived their life cycles in 8 schools, which was a combination of all the 2004 bond schools from Jack, Bell, Ramey, Douglas, Pete, Bonner, Austin, and the addition to Caldwell, which was done at the same time as those were.
It's impressive.
So what happens then is the ESSER funds will actually fund that replacement, which gives us that opportunity to let that money move into the future that we've already proposed and have already accounted for in our preventive maintenance fund, which just helps us down the road for when the next set of these life cycles need to take place. So, I mean, that's a really good thing we can hold our hat on to. Because quite frankly, we all know that when you install stuff all at the same time, you do that many schools at once, most of the air conditioning dies at the same time. So this will let us look at that stuff and progress out and stagger expenditures in the future. Now, if you want to go on down the list.
Sure.
Let's see, we talked about the installation, we talked about the purchase of the flat panels. The next one is re-roofing a portion of the Birdwell roof. When I came to work here in November 99, they were under construction of the addition at Birdwell. Believe it or not, I think I've been working on 20 years, but I'm really working on my 23rd year. So being on that roof, it has lived its life cycle. It has lived through all the warranties that were issued on it. We usually 20-year NDL, so it's already scheduled, it's already in our preventive maintenance plan, it's already in our database, and it definitely is time to replace it. We have submitted that to the ESSER funds, the federal government, as far as providing funding for that. We have not got an answer from them yet, though it doesn't specifically say in the criteria of the ESSER fund documents like it does windows. Our argument to them, it is an essential piece of the envelope of the building, and it does, in fact, help with your indoor air quality. Nevertheless, you see that in the agenda item that it says if we don't get approved with ESSER funds, we will use our preventive maintenance because it has to be done anyway. And that would just be, if they do approve it, it's another example of how we've kind of extended our preventive maintenance funds to the future. And then, of course, you have the paving of various improvements, paving of various campuses, and that's striping and seal coat and joint seal, and unfortunately, ESSER won't pay for that, but we do have it funded in our preventive maintenance fund. We'll be moving forward with that. We do this every year, if y'all recall. We evaluate every parking lot at spring break or before, and then we look and see what our needs are going to be, see if needs can be moved out or if they need to be immediately. And then finally, the replacing of the windows at the administration complex. A.T. Stewart Academy, this building in St. Louis Operations Center, and that is specifically laid out. The heading and the background information comes straight from the ESSER criteria as it's listed in their document. So we're kind of saying the argument that, you know, the roof's really not any different than the windows, but they're going to give us an opportunity to put double pane windows. Is not only going to help us with indoor air quality, but also energy efficiencies in these campuses. And so Brady's been helping. Cherie Jones has also been helping, and of course Joseph and his team. So that's kind of what we've been up to here in a nutshell, and we'll be glad to answer any question.
Really just ask y'all to come up here to provide that briefing on those 4 or 5 agenda items there to show what preventive maintenance does. You know, right now we're out presenting just the facts, Jack, in regard to the May 7th referendum. And the public may be watching this and they ask if successful, and then when buildings are provided by the public. You know, 20 years ago, there was an agreement made from this board to the community, a promise made that 3 cents of our tax rate will be dedicated to preventative maintenance. So I appreciate you outlining that, and here's a little proof in the pudding here about some of the projects that we've got going on. And oh, by the way, we've had this ESSER stimulus funds that can go a long way as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning that. And just so you know, Dr. Crawford, any of these new facilities that are put online, the day they go online, or actually the day we have substantial completion documents in hand, they go on our preventive maintenance clock. We have all the data, all the square footage, all the linear footage, all of the tonnage, all of the Freon, all of the serial numbers. We know everything about every piece of equipment, and we can pretty much predict pretty good when things are going to happen.
That's all 38 facilities that we have here in Tyler ISD, or 36 facilities that we have here in Tyler ISD, over 3.6 million square feet of responsibility that we have.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Proud
like
to
you
have
might
it.
have been saying that.
I don't know
a time or
why I
two
have that
lately.
ingrained.
Only done it 45 times now.
Well, I was a student in facilities before the preventative maintenance plan was in place, you know, in the 80s and 90s. And you could tell. You could really, really tell, especially in the way those facilities were designed. They were all outside, open air. The bathrooms were just, you remember. But it makes me proud that we can dedicate that and be smart about it, and really for the community, make those facilities last longer. Because we are at the end of a 20-year building phase, and I'm really looking forward to getting every kid in modern buildings if we can, and taking care of those buildings like we know we should. So.
Yeah, and President Washman, on top of that, you know, we didn't even mention the daily preventive maintenance and monthly and yearly that we do on these campuses to help extend those lives. So we have a pretty robust program on, as a matter of fact, we're starting our sweep teams a week ago at these campuses from, you know, washing our coils on our HVAC, changing all our filters. We do that every 30 days, and some of the things that we do and take place that just help your your equipment live longer life cycles. Just some things you should be doing at home, like flushing your hot water heater once a year. So
That
those
makes
are
me
the
feel
kind
bad
of
now,
things we take care of.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments? Thank you for walking us through those. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on items F through J.
Could we consider those individually?
Do you want to?
I do.
Okay.
But I don't have to. I can go either way, you know.
Yeah, let's do item F. Motion on item F.
I move we approve item F.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item F, motion carries. Item G.
I move we approve item G.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Okay. Item, oh yeah, all in favor say aye, and you oppose. Okay, so motion carries 4-1. Okay. H. Do I have a motion on
I move we
item H?
approve item H.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
One opposition.
Okay. Item carries 4-1. Do I have a motion on item
I move we
I?
approve item I.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item J.
I move that we approve item J.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed.
All opposed? All right. Motion carries 4-1. All right. Okay, now we're moving on to our curriculum instruction and consent agenda, District of Innovation Plan, which we went over last meeting. Any more words on that before I entertain a motion on the approval?
We actually had one comment posted online during the phase of posting this, of the plan. It was submitted anonymously as allowed for by the plan. Mr. Jones, anything you'd like to say in regard to that as we're on the back end of this process to recertify our DOI plan for the next 5 years?
No, the only comment there, basically the answer to the questions in the comment were in the details of the plan. So it was not any asking for anything in addition, it was asking clarifying questions.
Clarifying questions of the plan, and the answers were inside the plan? Yeah. You know, I know one thing, we'll say this again because we talked about it at the workshop. We talk about District of Innovation certified teachers, district certified teachers. You know, they just convened a task force, the Texas Education Agency, as prodded by the governor, to look at the teacher shortage that's occurring. And one of the recommendations right now coming out of the agency is to make sure that your DOI plan allows for you to hire quality individuals that are degreed or meet certain criteria for that. So I think, you know, while we were one of the vanguards in adopting that plan, I think a lot of school systems across the state are going to start deploying that strategy to make sure that that happens as well. Right now, I don't see anything in the near future because it is a crisis in regards to finding teachers out there and the vacancies that we do have. So very blessed to be able to present this DOI plan to y'all. And, you know, certainly I think people will get used to it over time that we are hiring good people that are degreed to come be our teachers in our classrooms whenever it could be the alternative. You know, this board asked us 6 years ago, 7 years ago, to find a solution for the vacancy issue that we had here in Tyler ISD. We were carrying about 80 subs a day, I believe, or 80 vacancies when we first got here, Mr. Jones. We certainly have attacked that, Ms. Taylor, in the HR department, and a lot of that's to be done through the DOI plan.
Great. Okay. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on the District of Innovation Plan.
Motion to renew the District of Innovation Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Second.
Do I have a second? All
Second.
right, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries.
Very appreciative of the committee members that served on the DOI committee this year.
Okay. Quarterly investment report, financial executive summary.
Tasha, give us some good news. It's your turn.
We have about $150 million invested right now in the tax revenues that are coming in. And we still, it's only 14 basis points. But we have invested money in March at 25 basis points. So the rates are going up.
The rates are going up. The Fed's adjusting the rates. That's maybe will provide some dividends for the district. It may, not much, but better than it was. But 1 point's going to be better than it was. Thank you, Mr. Loper.
All right.
So that's
Okay.
it on investments, I guess.
You might want to repeat that since we didn't have a microphone for you.
Okay. We have invested almost $150 million right now because of the tax revenues that came in January and February. And we earned around an average of 14 basis points over the last 3 months. But I expect to see that go up the next quarter because rates are rising.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Board. Okay. Thank you. On to future business, we have April 7th board workshop, April 18th regular meeting. And beyond that, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.